Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Srimad Bhakti Swami Prabhupada ki jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Grant Lord Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Can you pass the book also, please? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Science of God, Chapter 15, Instructions for Civilized Human Beings, Text 37. Yai Swa Deha Smrito Natma Martyo Vit Krimi Basmavat Ta Enam Atmasat Kritva Shlagayanti Hi Asatamaha Yaisvadeha Smito Natma Martyo Vit Krimi Basmavat Enam Atmasat Kritva Shlaghayanti Yasatamaha Yaisvadeha Smito Natma Martyo Vitkrima Basmavat Enam Atmasat Kritva Shlagyanti yasattamaha Yaisvadeha smitodnatma Martyo vitkrimabhasmavat Ta enam atmasat kritva Shlagyanti yasattamaha Right. Yai by sannyāsīs who? Svadeha, own body. Smritaha, considered. Anatma, different from the soul. Martyaha, subjected to death. Vit, becoming stool. Krimi, worms. Basmavat, or ashes. Te, such persons. Enam, this body. Atmasat kritva, again identifying with the self. Shlagayanti, glorify is very important. He, indeed, asattamaha, the greatest rascals. Translation. Prabhupada, by His Divine Grace, HG Balarama Dasa, Prabhupada. Sannyāsīs who first consider that the body is subject to death when it will be transformed into stool, worms, or ashes, but who again give importance to the body and glorify it as the self, are to be considered the greatest rascals. Purport. A sannyasi is one who has clearly understood through advancement in knowledge that Brahman, he, the person himself, is the soul, not the body. One who has this understanding may take sannyas, for he is situated in the Aham Brahmasmi position. Brahmabhuta prasannatma nashochati nakangshati. Such a person who no longer laments or hankers to maintain his body, and who can accept all living entities as spirit souls, can then enter the devotional service of the Lord. If one does not enter the devotional service of the Lord, but artificially considers himself Brahman or Narayan, not perfectly understanding that the soul and body are different, one certainly falls down. Padantyadaha. Such a person, again, gives importance to the body. There are many sannyāsīs in India who stress the importance of the body. Some of them give special importance to the body of the poor man, accepting him as Daridra and Narayan, as if Narayan had a material body. Many other sannyāsīs stress the importance of the social position of the body as a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. Such sannyāsīs are considered the greatest rascals, asattamaha. They are shameless because they have not yet understood the difference between the body and the soul, and instead have accepted the body of a Brahman to be a Brahman. Brahmanism, Brahmanyat, consists of the knowledge of Brahman, but actually the body of a Brahman is not Brahman. Similarly, the body is neither rich nor poor. If the body of a poor man were Dridra Narayan, this would mean that the body of a rich man, on the contrary, must be Dhani Narayan. Therefore, Sannyāsīs who do not know the meaning of Narayan, those who regard the body as Brahman or as Narayan, are described here as Asattamaha, the most abominable rascals. Following the bodily concept of life, such Sannyāsīs make various programs to serve the body. They conduct farcical missions consisting of so-called religious activities meant to mislead all of human society. These Sannyāsīs have been described herein as Apatrapaha and Asattamaha, shameless and fallen from spiritual life. Om Eganatipanandasya Granjana Shalakaya Chakshunmaditam Nena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kadirivachalam Pangam Langai Tegadim Yakipatamaham Vande Shri Gurundini Tadinam Vanchakopidibishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Can you turn that off? Translation. Again. Sannyāsīs who first consider that the body is subject to death when it will be transformed into stool, worm, or ashes, but who, again, give importance to the body and glorify it as the self, are to be considered the greatest rascals. Can any of the younger devotees think of so-called sannyāsīs or persons who are disguised as sannyāsīs in the Vedic literature? There's some examples. Can anyone think of some examples? There's a number of examples, yes. Ravana, okay, that's one. Any other? No, not Kumbhakarna. Indra, yes, that's another one. So you have Indra, you have Ravana. Any other ones that you could think of? I mean, one wasn't really like, he didn't disguise himself as a sannyasi, but he was a so-called sannyasi. But another one disguised themselves as a sannyasi. Any other ideas? It's from the Bhagavatam, from the 10th canto. You have Arjuna, right? He disguised himself as a sannyasi. Remember that? Yeah. And then there was another person, Ramchandra Puri. Ramchandra Puri, he didn't disguise himself as a sannyasi, but he wasn't a proper sannyasi. So if you look at these different personalities, specifically not Ramchandra Puri, but if you look at Ravana, why did he disguise himself as a sannyasi? Yeah, so Sita let him get close. He was begging, oh, please, I don't know what he was begging for. What was he begging for? Some food or something. Yeah, some money, rice. And then she said, oh, look at this nice sannyasi, and okay, and then she got a little closer, then he stole her. Of course, that was like a Maya Sita, but that's another story. But so Ravana, he disguised himself to exploit, to enjoy, to exploit God's energy, Krishna's energy, or Ramchandra's energy in the form of Sita. And then you have Arjuna, he disguised himself what was the purpose of him disguising himself? Remember, Govardhan? Arjuna? He was disguising himself because he was wanted to get close to Subhadra, and eventually they married. And then you have Indra. He disguised himself as a sannyasi, and his idea was that okay, there was Prithu Maharaj, right? He was doing that 100 horse sacrifice. And then he was just about to sacrifice the 100th horse, and then Indra came as a sannyasi, right, and stole. Yeah, Indra did 100, and he didn't want someone to match him. So we see that these different personalities, they accepted the disguise of a sannyasi for wrong purposes, for mundane, for purposes for which a sannyasi should not accept the sannyas, or the external appearance of a sannyasi. And we see that within Kali Yuga, people do accept positions of authority, people accept positions in an organization for wrong purposes, for wrong reasons. Srila Prabhupada gives an example of when he was a young boy going up in Calcutta, he would see this man who would wake up in the morning out on the street, just an ordinary man, and then he would put on his saffron cloth. And then he would go begging and please give me money, give me food, so on. And then at the end of the day, he'd take off his saffron cloth and he'd smoke his cigarette. And he would drink his caffeinated tea, and he would read his newspaper, and in this way he was just taking the role of a mendicant just for the purpose of making money, for the purpose of collecting money. And Srila Prabhupada's father was so liberal, and he was so liberal that he would just allow anyone practically to come and take prasadam at his home, anyone who looked like a sadhu. He would say, "Oh, come in." And then he would sit them down, he would feed them prasadam, give them a little donation, and then they would go. And then Srila Prabhupada growing up, which Srila Prabhupada seemed to be more of a different, you could say Srila Prabhupada seemed to be more conservative than his father, and who was a sadhu exactly. Because Srila Prabhupada later on, when Narendra Mulak, his dear friend, wanted to introduce him to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who Narendra said was a really good sadhu. Srila Prabhupada said, "Oh, I know all these sadhus. I've seen these sadhus. They get up in the morning, they go out and they beg, and they come back and smoke their bidi and drink their coffee. And I know all these sadhus. They come and my father fed them, while growing up. In other words, I don't have faith in all these sadhus. I don't want to go see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur." And Narendra Mulak, he said, "But this is a different sadhu. You should go see him." And eventually, as we know, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is a real sadhu, and that's history. But Srila Prabhupada wasn't impressed with all of these different personalities. Later on, Srila Prabhupada, when he came to America and he initiated many disciples, Srila Prabhupada had one devotee named Paramahamsa Swami. Remember him? Huh? Heard of him? Oh, haven't seen him, but Paramahamsa Swami. So Srila Prabhupada initiated many devotees into the sannyas order, which Srila Prabhupada very well knew it was a risk. And practically Prabhupada knew that some of them were going to fall from sannyas. There's indications like that Srila Prabhupada knew. But still, for the preaching movement and to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world, he gave many young men sannyas. But one of these persons, Paramahamsa Swami, Prabhupada gave sannyas to, later, when he was traveling with Srila Prabhupada, Paramahamsa and I believe it was Harishari, they were laughing about something. They were joking about something. And then Srila Prabhupada asked what they're laughing about, and they discussed that. And then Srila Prabhupada went on to tell Paramahamsa Swami and Harishari something about his childhood. Srila Prabhupada said, yes, when I was a child, my father, he would invite so many sadhus, and they would come and he would feed them and give them a donation and so on. And he said, and sometimes my father, he would give these people ganja, marijuana, and then they would smoke marijuana out of the pipe, and then Paramahamsa and Harishari, they're looking at Prabhupada like, really? Because Prabhupada's father, Srila Prabhupada described him in the beginning of Krishna book as he dedicated the Krishna book to Gaur Mohan De, my father, who is a pure devotee of the Lord. So Paramahamsa and Harishari was like, really? They were thinking, did he actually give him ganja to smoke? And then they were looking at Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was really serious. And then Prabhupada looked at him and he said, no, he wouldn't give him ganja, I'm joking. And then he said that, well, going back, he said, my father would give so many, these sadhus ganja, so many of these Paramahamsas, he would give ganja. But then he looked at Paramahamsa Swami and he said, but not you, Paramahamsa Swami, you can't have ganja, But yeah, he was joking, his father didn't really do that. But we see that there's so many people who put on the garb of a sannyasi, but they're not qualified. They start from the very beginning for wrong reasons. Now, of course, people who are very critical of sannyāsīs, which there's a lot of people like that, they think that bringing it to the modern day, ISKCON, people accepting sannyas, they think that anyone who accepts sannyas, they must have wrong motives within their mind. Anyone who takes up the path of renunciation and actually goes through with becoming a sannyasi, they must be doing it for wrong reasons. Now, it may not be as gross as Ravana to go after women, or like Arjuna to get a wife. It's really... but they think, oh, definitely they're doing it for some money, they're doing it for some power, to secure their position. They're doing it for all these wrong reasons. That's very critical. And then so that's like one category. Another category of understanding is that there's many people who accept sannyas in the beginning for the right reasons. They want to help people, they want to spread Krishna consciousness, they want to give knowledge to people. But then over time they become corrupted. Just like there are many critics of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, specifically the ones who acted as, 11 gurus? It was 11 gurus, right? Yeah. After Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, there was 11 main gurus. And then later, they opened up the doors more to there becoming more gurus. And for the last 50 years or so, there's been more or less around the same number of gurus, about 100. They're trying to get more now. Grand disciples are trying to encourage them. But people were very critical of these 11 gurus, devotees who were in that particular era of time, they saw what these gurus did, how they were acting, and so on. And it is true, many of them did have very blatant faults over time, historically. People have written books about it and so on. But some people, they are of the opinion that, well, they started bad. That they were always bad, and then they just continued to be bad throughout their sannyas career before most of them gave up their sannyas and their guruship. Whereas some people, they feel that, well, they started good. They had good motives, but they just became bewildered by the material energy. So like this, there's different types of understanding that people have. But definitely we could see that there are people who start with bad motives, and there are people who start with good motives but then become corrupted. So here in this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada, in purport, Srila Prabhupada in the verse is criticizing a sannyasi who at first had the right idea. The right idea, they understood, I am not this body. This body comes to a point of destruction. It becomes, will be transformed into stool, worms, or ashes. And therefore, let me not invest my life in this body, gratification of this body, comfort of this body. But let me just take sannyas and just forget about all that and just go for God realization. But then, over time, due to bad association, mostly bad association, or you could say, whether you want to look at bad association means associating with people who are in Maya, or associating with Maya in different forms, a person loses that understanding, and then they understand the body is myself. I am this body. This body is very important. They gave the greatest importance to this body and glorified as the self. And these sannyāsīs who have the right idea and then fall and act on the wrong idea, they're considered to be the greatest rascals. This is what this particular verse is saying. And Srila Prabhupada is bringing up the typical rascal sannyāsīs in the purport. The rascal sannyāsīs of India who have all types of bizarre conceptions that an ordinary man is God. Actually, like Dridra Narayan. All the poor people, we should consider them to be Narayan, we should consider them to be God, and therefore we should serve them. But we see within the Vedic literature, Prahlad Maharaj doesn't give that instruction that, yes, what you should do with your life is you should understand that all of these poor people, they're all God, and you should just go serve them. And that is your God realization. But Prahlad Maharaj doesn't say that. He says, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanam, Vedanam. He says that there's 9 processes of devotional service that should be done for Vishnu. Now, there can be there can be particular people in society who do help poor people, who do serve in that way, but to consider that to be the process of God realization and consider that to be the main business of a sannyasi is wrong. And that's what it's being stated here. That's what's being stated here in the purport. That the main business of a sannyasi is not to be caught up in all of the bodily identification, identifying themselves as the body, identifying others as the body. But the main duty of a sannyasi is, first of all, to have the right idea, or first of all, have the right idea, then accept sannyas, and then keep the right idea. And the right idea being that my main business is to give spiritual knowledge to others, to become educated in the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, to learn those teachings, to learn those teachings, to live those teachings, and to give those teachings. That's the main business of a sannyasi. And to be situated in Krishna consciousness. So we should understand this, that the sannyas ashram is not evil by nature. It is designed by Krishna. It is important. Srila Prabhupada gave stress to the sannyas ashram. Srila Prabhupada wanted the sannyas ashram to remain alive and well. It is not that everyone who accepts sannyas does it for the wrong reasons, but there are some who do. But there are people who accept it for the right reasons, and the right reasons being being based on learning the Srimad Bhagavatam, living the Srimad Bhagavatam, and teaching the Srimad Bhagavatam for the benefit of everyone. So these are some points. Does anybody have any? Yes, Matthias?
Thank you for the class. I was wondering if this verse also is mentioning like people that take sannyas and other sampradayas, or just in this one. And also, I was curious about other sampradayas and what are like the requirements for them like to take sannyas, or why is there like sometimes like conflicts between sampradayas and and gurus, and why is there like so many conflict about sannyas?
Well, I mean, in terms of other Vaishnava sampradayas, also Mayavadi sampradayas, they have this idea of sannyas. And I mean, practically the main, to accept sannyas in a real way, vacho vegam manaso kroda vegam jiva vegam atarapasta vegam etan vegam yogashaheta dira sarvam epimam pratipim shushishyat. That Rupa Goswami says that a Goswami means somebody who controls their senses. They control their mind, they control their words, they control their anger, they control the tongue, belly, genitals. They control their senses by engaging them in Krishna service. And for one who does that, they're considered a Goswami, and they could make disciples all over the world. So practically that's the main qualification, controlling of senses, because to accept sannyas means you're a Swami, it means you're the controller of the senses. But that also means, okay, you're established in knowledge, you've understood the conclusions of the scriptures, and so on. So whether it's Mayavad sannyas or Vaishnava sannyas, the control of the senses is very important in accepting sannyas. But just like things become contaminated over time, like religion, the air, water, everything becomes contaminated over time. So similarly, the idea of sannyas becomes contaminated over time. And then you get things like this, which Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, that my main business of a sannyasi is that I should accept the public as God, and I should accept me serving the public food and clothing to be my service to God, because they are God. And I'm also God, and we're all God. And because I'm a sannyasi, I've realized my godhood. So these are wrong conceptions that people have about sannyas. Things become contaminated over time. And therefore you have disagreements amongst groups. Like Vaishnava groups, they completely disagree with these groups because they think it's because they understand it to be a wrong conception. So, yes, Govardhan.
Thank you, Balaram Prabhu. This reminds me of, I think Srila Prabhupada tells the story of, so-called Sannyāsīs. They look for women, and then the women looking for sadhus.
Yeah.
They get together, so
Yeah.
they're both cheating each other, and the cheaters and the cheated.
Yeah. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada gives the example that there's many holy places in India. I mean, it's just like, according to Hindus or according to Vaishnavas or people following the Vedas, there's many holy places. I mean, there's thousands of holy places all over India. And of course, there's very famous ones like Tirupati and Udupi and Srirangam and so many different places, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Puri, Dwarka. So there's like main holy places, and then there's minor holy places or smaller holy places. But holy places means there's people, like hundreds and thousands of pilgrims who go there yearly, daily. So sometimes, as Govardhan Prabhu was mentioning, that you get somebody who's a cheater, and he thinks, all right, let me dress up as a sadhu, and I'll go to a holy place. And then you get women who think that, yes, I would like to have, it's just crazy. I would like to have a child with a saintly person. Because if I have a child with a saintly person, there's an idea that my child will be saintly also, because there's a consciousness transfer there. So a cheater, he goes there dressed up as a sadhu, and then a woman goes there wanting to have a baby from a sadhu, and then they combine like that. And in this way, Srila Prabhupada says, the cheaters and the cheated. And Srila Prabhupada is very strong about this, that you have these people living as so-called sadhus, but they have just like a monkey, they have so many female monkeys. I mean, that particular language is so because monkeys in Vrindavan, you see monkeys in Vrindavan, it's like not a very, of course they're there in the Dham and next life, but it's not monkeys, it's not like a glorified position or something. So Prabhupada says all these sadhus are like monkeys. Yeah, so therefore we have to be real sadhus, yes.
I'm wondering about the sannyas ashram, because when you get to become a sannyasi, you travel, and then you attract people, they become your followers, and they want to associate with you and things like that. So what is the responsibility of someone who is a sannyasi traveling around? He's going to different places. Is he taking responsibility for those people, giving them some kind of shiksha, instruction? Another question is, can you maintain friendship with those people who are a little bit less senior to you? Is it healthy to maintain friendship? How do you get that type of nourishment in the sannyas ashram?
All right. Yeah, traveling around, a sannyasi will attract different people. Means these people will be attracted to the person's knowledge, the person's character, and so on. And some of these people will follow that person, which means, okay, they might become their disciples, or they might just follow them in the sense of listening to their lectures. Or so do such sannyasis, what is their responsibility in terms of dealing with these people? Yeah, it's interesting because if you look at the sannyas ashram historically, like thousands of years ago, it's completely morphed into something completely different than what it was thousands of years ago. The idea of sannyas was pretty much you go to the forest, and you're just away from people. And then gradually it's become a thing where you take sannyas and it's like the opposite. You're like with people in big cities and so on. But for a sannyasi in India, traditionally they would just go from place to place, and you may not ever see them again because, you know, they're on foot, they're walking, and you may never see them again. So it was just like a one-time blessing, instruction. And blessing means the instruction you get from them and you serving them. But nowadays we have sadhus or sannyasis traveling the world, and they may frequent places. They do frequent the same places often. So it's, yeah, people wonder what is their responsibility. Well, it depends. I mean, if somebody wants to accept that sannyasi as their shiksha guru, as somebody who gives them instructions in their life, then they do have responsibility to take care of that person, give them instructions and so on. But personally, I wouldn't limit my shiksha just to a sannyasi who visits once or twice a year, who's here for a few days, because they're traveling all over the world, they're dealing with so many people, and they're not seeing you day to day. Yeah, you can listen to the classes online, that's true, but the benefit of taking instruction from local teachers is that you can get clarification on their instructions very easily. Like, for example, if I'm listening to a lecture, you know, I got my headphones on or whatever, I'm taking prasadam and I'm listening to a lecture or something. Of course, it's great, it's wonderful, it's glorious, it should be done. To hear as much as possible is very important. But I'm hearing that lecture and it's filtering through my consciousness, my particular state of consciousness, And I could just take some of those ideas and misapply them in my life practically. And that happens all the time in Krishna consciousness. People misapply the instructions all the time. Whereas if I'm taking instruction from local teachers, it's a little harder to do that. I mean, of course, it still can be done. It still can be done, and it is done. People, they hear from local teachers, and they take those instructions, they misapply them in their life. Happens all the time. But the benefit is, if you have a local teachers, then you could go up to them. And this is the point. What is it in the Bhagavad Gita? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. That you should go and you should inquire. You should serve, you should inquire. It's not that you just inquire once, but you continue to inquire. And what is the purpose of that inquiry? The purpose of the inquiry is to get clarification. Prabhu, very nice class. This is what I've understood, and this is how I'm thinking about applying it. What do you think? I heard your class this morning, and I'm thinking about leaving my wife today and taking sannyas and hitting the road, you know. Is that the proper application? And I'll say, well, Prabhu, how old are you? They say, well, I'm 22 years old. And how many times have you read the Bhagavatam? Well, I've read it 25%. And how long have you been chanting 16 rounds? On and off for about a year. It's like, all right, Prabhu, well, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I think you need to wait to take sannyas for some time. Now, of course, that's an extreme example, but there's so many examples where people misapply things. If we accept that sannyasi as our shiksha guru, we could take instructions through their classes, through their emailing them or WhatsApping or whatever. So that's good. But if there's no formal or informal real relationship of shiksha relationship, then that person doesn't have responsibility for us, like personal responsibility for us. Now, in terms of that, a sannyasi traveling and preaching, and should they have friendships with younger devotees and so on, that's fine. I mean, Srila Prabhupada had, not bringing up Srila Prabhupada, but it's okay for sannyasi to have friendships with other younger devotees. Of course, that friendship may be mixed in with some, not like a friendship where the person comes up and, hey Maharaj, and smacks him on the back, and although like you don't go up to Ashram Maharaj and, hey Ashram Maharaj, hi Bo, and just smack him right on the back and, nice to see you Maharaj. Of course, you do have the example of Sridhar Swami, Prabhupada's Sridhar Swami. He was quite informal with devotees, but you have Yudhishthira, Big Yudi. They had an interesting friendship, but one time Yudhishthira was telling me how he would go up to Sridhar Swami and he would, with his fist, just punch him right in the arm, like really hard, as hard as he could. And then Sridhar Swami, who was strong and tough, he would say, "Oh, did a fly just land on my arm? It felt like a fly just landed." So there's a little different examples, but generally, you're not so informal. There's some formality, but there's a little mix of friendship there. That's okay. But still, sannyasis should associate with peers in the sense of other sannyasis and other, their gurus and other, senior devotees. In this way, that's also good. Hear from them, listen to them, serve them. Yeah.
So practically, it looks like you just travel, you give, and then you just take some time off, go to Holy Dham and see Guru and see all the sannyasis.
Yeah, you have devotees. They travel, they preach, and then in their travels and in their preaching, they may visit. They visit many places, and in those places there may be senior devotees. Like, for example, let's say a sannyasi, he's traveling and preaching, and then he lands in Budapest, and he's preaching there in Europe, and then he goes to Hungary, Krishna Valley Farm. So he's there preaching, and the Shivaram Swami's there. So he's a younger sannyasi, so he goes and takes some association with Shivaram Swami, and they discuss some things, and like that. In their preaching, they could have that association. But there also could be times where they maybe go on Kartik or something. They go and they associate with each other, or senior sannyasis, things like that. Yeah. All right. Any last comment or question, Veer Chandra? Me? Oh, you're asking me, huh? I guess I could answer that. Just briefly. I joined the Hare Krishna movement when I was 18. I'm 36 now, and for very young, actually Nanda Tirtha Maharaj, before he became a sannyasi, he was encouraging me in that way. And then afterwards he was encouraging me that way. And then Bhajanarayan Swami brought it up to me one time, and then we spoke to my spiritual master and other senior devotees. So in that way, but personally I have thought about it for many, many years. Some people would say even when I was way too young to even be thinking about it. But I just looked at it as a good way to try to contribute to serving Srila Prabhupada and serving the devotees and trying to do something good. Yeah. All right, so we'll stop there. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hare Krishna.